How to be calm. How to keep your cool in a political conversation. Hi, I'm Mike Moskalo, and I want to talk about how to keep your calm in a political conversation or in any other difficult conversation that you might be able to find yourself in. There's several steps that you can do to remain calm in a problem-solving situation. But the first and most important occurs before the problem-solving session even begins, and that is connecting with the humanity of the other. Finding something in that person that's alive that you can connect to and have compassion for. Don't start by discussing the problem immediately. Start with the relationship. It's the relationship that matters. It is through the relationship and it is through relationships that we develop, and it is through relationships that we're able to make contact with other people in such a way that we can solve problems involving conflicts between them. The other person is a person. Honor their dignity and humanity. Get to know each other. Exchange stories that reveal who both people are. Get to know the person that you are conversing with, if at all possible, as a person before you confront the issue of the conflict between you. Now, when you are ready, you're going to get into conversations and things are going to get upsetting. That's the nature of political conversations. It doesn't have to get upsetting, but they often do get upsetting. And when they do get upsetting, what can you do? Well, you can engage in the CALM procedure. CALM. CALM is an acronym. It stands for curious, accepting, loving and compassion, and motivated toward fostering well-being. CALM. This is a series of 4 questions that you can ask yourself when you encounter any type of a stress, whether it's a stress in a political conversation, or whether it's a stress in everyday life, or in any other conversation at all. Doesn't matter. Calm. So C for curious, A for accepting, L for loving and compassion, M for motivated toward fostering well-being. The first 3, CAL, easy enough to remember. Motivated might be a little bit harder, but one way to remember it is that the M in motivated becomes inverted into the W in well-being. So motivated toward fostering well-being. I'll explain this in detail in a few seconds. Please note that the principles and practices of CALM, or CALM-MO as he discusses it, are the brainchild of Gregg Henriques. So, how can you keep calm in a difficult conversation or in any other stressful event? Well, here's 4 questions that you can ask yourself in sequence, taking your time as you do so. Curious. What is happening and why? Adopt a curious stance toward what is happening. Rather than an oppositional stance or a confrontative stance, adopt a curious one. Be accepting toward it. Seek to find a way to accept the fact that this circumstance is occurring. I accept that this is happening, even if you don't accept, if it's in a conversation, what the other person is saying or agreeing with it. You can at least accept that it's happening. And once you accept it, seek to act toward it with loving compassion. How can I have compassion for the suffering behind this event, whether that suffering occurs in the self or that suffering occurs in the other? How can I have compassion for the events that led up to this unfortunate and unsettling act? And then finally, once I am able to acknowledge and identify what it is and accept it and have compassion for it, I can begin to ask, how can I be motivated toward promoting well-being? What can I do to move this event toward a state of well-being for me or for the other person or for both of us? This is a very effective way to calm yourself in a constructive and positive and proactive way. So the CALM procedure calms you in any stressful situation. It does so by helping you to center yourself and to gain perspective. It helps you approach yourself and the other person with compassion. And if you're unfamiliar with the idea of approaching yourself with compassion, this will be a very important tool for you. The procedure is simple, at least simple to state. First, stop and breathe. Attend to your breathing. To stop and breathe removes you from the proximal situation itself, removes you from the here and now of it, and allows you to center yourself by focusing on something that you have control over and that feels good and calming. So take your time. Doesn't matter. If you're in a conversation with somebody and you stop and breathe, that will affect the conversation by itself, and it will make you begin the process of being calm. Then, reflect. Take your time. Ask yourself each of the questions that are in CALM, the acronym CALM. And then, as you do so, notice that you are calming and that you are increasingly ready to proceed with the conversation or the event, whatever that event may be. So let's give a couple of examples. Example 1, not political, not a political context, not even a discussion, just you yourself at this moment, right this moment. Please consider doing this as we go through it. So 1, first stop, breathe, notice your breath. It's very simple. Take your time. Do that many times, as many times as it takes to begin to sever yourself from the situation that's upsetting and to begin to center. Then, ask these 4 questions. First, what is this? So, right now, explore how you're feeling. Scan your body. Find a spot that is tight, painful, doesn't quite feel good, or doesn't quite feel right. Be curious about it. What is it? Label it. Explore the feeling around it and witness it. Just witness it. You might even ask, why is it there? So, for example, you might be scanning your body and you might find that, well, you have a pain in your lower back. Okay? Now you've found it. Be curious about it. Instead of pushing it away, move curiously for it. What is this all about? Explore it. What does it feel like? Where is it? Is it in the middle of your back, the lower back, the side of the back? What happens when you move your body around? That's step 1. 2, accepting. Well, now you have a pain in your lower back. You know what it is. Can I accept that it's there? We have a pain. We don't want to accept it. We want to push it away. So I've been trying to avoid this pain, even deny that it exists. Okay, it's there. I accept it. Try to accept it. It may take some time. Accept the fact that it's there. Don't accept the fact that the pain is there and you accept the pain as a good thing. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying simply accept its existence and see if you can kind of hover over it and just witness it. Having done that, can you act toward compassion for yourself for that pain? Having this pain is crummy. Treat yourself as though you would treat somebody else. If somebody else had a pain, you wouldn't tell them to push it away or that they're bad for having it or wrong for having it, for example. But so often we do that with ourselves. What did I do to cause this pain? I didn't sit right. Having this pain is crummy. It's okay that it's there. You're not at fault for having it. And even if you did sit poorly and that's where it came from, well, that's what we do. Now, maybe we can find ways to fix that, but not by beating ourselves up. Let's have compassion for ourselves. And then move toward fostering well-being. What can I do to move myself toward greater well-being? Well, I'll start by sitting up straight at the computer, and maybe I'll do 3 stretching exercises, something that's simple, something that begins. And wow, once I've done that, I've turned my pain into something that I can accept and act on. Example 2, you're in a conversation, a political conversation, for example. Somebody says something you just can't accept. My God, how can he say something so insane? What an idiot. What a crazy person. Perhaps even an evil person. I can't understand what that person's saying. Calm. What is this? Curious. Be curious about it. Instead of pushing it away, seeing it as something as bad, evil, other, explore it. What did he say? What could he mean by that? My God, that sounds so crazy. Insane to me. But I'm curious. Treat it in a curious way, in a credulous way. That makes sense to the other person. How can I understand how that makes sense to the other person? Why does the other person feel this way? Accepting. Can I accept that this is here? You don't have to accept the content. He thinks very differently than I do. That's okay. We don't have to think alike. But I can accept the fact that he said that. He's standing there in front of me and talking. I will accept it. I will accept him. It may take some time in the interaction itself. Loving and compassion. How can I act toward compassion, with compassion toward the other? I don't agree with what he said, but he's a person with his own needs, fears, and pains, and suffering. That's what he says. That's why he says what he does. When somebody says something that we don't like, it's important to look and try to find what the needs and pleas are beside it, the fears. If somebody behaves in a way that we find intolerable, quite often it has something to do with how they're feeling and how they're seeing the situation. And if I saw the situation that way, I might feel the same way. I don't have to accept what the person's content is, but can I have compassion nonetheless for why the person says what he or she has said? And then finally, motivated toward well-being. What can I do to move toward greater well-being? Well, I'll start by asking more about why he thinks this way, and then I'll explain my own needs around this issue, and then we'll see if we can talk it through. Second example, calm. 3. Example 3. Wow, that was insulting. Somebody insults you either deliberately or non-deliberately. Calm. Curious. What did she say? She called me naive. I wonder what's behind that. Or, more likely, what did she say? She called me naive. That really upsets me. Wait a minute. I wonder what's behind that. Why did she call me that? What's inside of her that led that to happen? Accepting. I feel hurt. It doesn't feel good to feel hurt, but I accept the fact that I'm feeling hurt. I acknowledge my hurt. I acknowledge her comment. Perhaps I can kind of, again, hover above this event, hover above the hurt, just kind of witness the hurt, know it's there, and accept it. Don't push it away. Then, how can I act toward with loving compassion, both toward the other and toward myself? I don't agree with what she said. Her insult may have come from a place of feeling hurt, insecure, or unheard. I've felt that way before. Maybe I can have compassion for her. I can have compassion for myself. I feel hurt. It doesn't feel good to feel hurt. But, I'm not going to blame myself. I'm going to try to explain it. I'm going to try to figure out what's going on. And that's what leads us to being motivated to fostering well-being. What now that I've acknowledged, accepted, and even have compassion for the other and for myself, what can we do? I'll start by asking more about why she called me naive. Then I'll explain why I feel hurt. And then I'll assert my own interests. We'll continue to have a conversation. Calm. How calm works in relation to both self and other. I can use it to understand myself or the other by being curious. When something happens, feeling anxious, explore the anxiety. Why? Have a curious stance toward it. You can use it to regulate bad feelings in yourself or feelings that you have about the other by exploring them, accepting them, having compassion for yourself or for the other person. You could use it to have compassion for both people, yourself and the other person. And when you're having compassion for yourself, treat yourself as if you would treat somebody else in the same situation. Calm yourself in the same way that you would calm someone else. It's very effective. Once I'm calm, I can plan acts that enhance well-being for both myself and the other. You do this, and you keep doing it, it will become almost automatic, and you'll be able to do it right in the moment, and you'll find that it transforms your emotions and the conversations you have with others. Thanks for listening.